All right, moving on to Ghost Ship, which has that holographic cover. Look at this. Oh, you see evil? No, you don't see evil? Now you see evil. I just bought this, and it came with two copies inside for some reason. And one is the full screen, and one is the widescreen, and this is not one of those versions. This is just the widescreen edition. So whoever had this probably sells them in bulk and accidentally put two copies in here. So that kind of sucks. So they probably have a full screen version. But who the hell wants a full screen version anyways? Full screen is fucking for the birds. Hate full screen. Anyway, the opening of this movie is very surprising. When I say the opening, I mean the opening credits and the opening title card for the film. It's like The Love Boat. It's a very bizarre way to open this movie. Like, if I was to throw this on TV, not knowing anything about it, never even hearing about it, I would think this is a romance. I would think I was about to watch some knockoff of The Love Boat. 100%. It like comes up, it looks like fucking like writing that you would see in the credits for like Pretty Woman or Pretty in Pink or something. Like it's like maybe at the beginning of like a freaking Penny Marshall film, it just, what a weird opening. But then after that, this movie has one of the coolest openings of any horror movie I've ever watched. I mean, the opening is fantastic. Everyone's out on the dance floor, and this cable gets, is pulled taut and then is brought across the entire dance floor and halves every single person on the dance floor except for Emily Browning's little girl character in this movie. Every other adult, everybody else on the dance floor is an adult, and they're tall enough where this thing hits them either in the sternum or the high, up here in the collarbone, or this guy even gets it across the face. I don't know why he gets it here and most people get it down here when he looked as tall as everyone else. Maybe it was like at an up angle. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me at all, but I don't care because it all looked amazing. Like the people like were falling in half and their clothes were coming off first and their pants were dropping and then their bodies were falling over and people's heads were coming off. Amazing. Just an amazing opening. It was like, wow. Yeah, talk about bang for your buck, dude. If you have one kill that kills, this movie right here, the opening kill kills more people than the entirety of the entire Dark Castle franchise. Like, it's fucking crazy how many people die in that scene. 100. And then we even get flashbacks later in the movie where like the crew's all rat poisoned and then they get cut in half like that, and then the other guys are like gunned down by the pool, and then there's like a triple cross where guys are gunned down and then another guy's shot in the head, and so on and so forth, and a girl gets a fucking hook through the jaw. There is a lot of carnage in this movie. I have to say, I think this might be the best movie of the franchise. I mean, Orphan is really damn good. But Ghost Ship is fucking good, man. I really enjoyed this. And honestly, I want to say this is the first time I've seen it. I remember it was on at the bar back in the day when I was drunk, and I watched some of it. But I honestly can tell you, I don't think I've ever watched this fucking movie fully. So on my first viewing, I was really impressed by it. You've got Gabriel Byrne in here, and you've also got freaking Quinn from Dexter. Forget what that guy's name in real life is. And then you've also got fucking Carl motherfucking Urban in this movie. Carl Urban's in this movie. Now, Carl Urban's death, I feel, even though it is cool and it's like graphic a little bit, I just feel like because it's Carl Urban. If it was anybody else, I wouldn't have cared at all. But because of how much I love Carl Urban, I just felt like his character, the actor deserved a little bit more of a prominent death, but he just gets pulled under this thing and rips him apart, and his body parts go everywhere. His severed head that they see, though, does not look anything like him at all. Like, at all. To the point where I'm like, was that supposed to be a different character? Am I misreading that moment? Because if that's Carl Urban's head there, you guys failed. I fucking know Aomir's head, okay? I know that motherfucker. I know Dredd's face. At least this half of Dredd's face, anyways. This half. And cool to hear a Mudvayne song in here. I was a big Mudvayne fan in high school. I mentioned that in my House on Haunted Hill review, I think. But huge, especially they're technically, I think it's their first like full album. Although I don't know, LD 50, okay, Lethal Dose 50, phenomenal album. I mean, just that album, Severed and Nothing to Gain, and all those songs. That album is phenomenal. So to hear Mudvayne here was really, really cool. This movie kind of reminds me of Triangle. Triangle's better, but this one's more fun. Like, Triangle's a mind fuck. Triangle makes you think. You can watch my Triangle breakdown if you'd like. And I kind of get into every little aspect of the twists and the turns and the confusion and all of the time paradoxes and all that shit. So that's a thinking man's horror flick for sure. But this one's just a fun ass movie. But that being said, it's not overly silly. Like, the movie is pretty serious. It has a playful edge to it because of the characters and maybe some of the music and some of the setups and whatnot. But for the most part, it plays out pretty seriously. And I think it succeeds in its serious tone. I was really impressed by this one. And seeing little Emily Browning here, I mean, this is back in the days when she was doing like the Lemony Snicket's movie and whatnot. Grows up to be a gorgeous woman, of course. And I am one of the very few, I guess, because every single person I talk to hates this movie, but I just don't understand why people hate Sucker Punch so damn much. I love it. I think it's like a fun action adventure anthology film. That's how I essentially see it. You get to see like an anthology action flick that takes place like in a fantasy world with dragons, and then you get like another anthology segment in like this alternate universe, World War II, Nazi Germany fight, and then you get this like samurai type movie, and you get all these really, with like the best special effects, all these really cool shots, awesome cinematography, hot ass babes running around in these cute little skirts and outfits and kicking ass. Like, what the fuck? Hot ass chicks, rad CGI, anthology of all these cool different kinds of genres. I walked out of that movie and was like, holy shit, did I get my money's worth? I kind of got every juvenile part of me fulfilled there. So when everybody came out, and still to this day, every time, oh my God, Sucker Punch is dreadful. And I guarantee you, most of you are like, he's crazy, that movie's terrible. And they're writing in the comments right now, no, yeah, it's terrible. I don't get it at all. I love it. So anyway, so that's how I know Emily Browning. Of course, I prefer her in the movie Sleeping Beauty because we get to see her naked throughout that whole thing. But regardless, the bullet holes in the pool, and then the blood starts. So the pool's empty. I mean, it's dirty, but it's empty of bodies. So the bullet holes that are in the pool start flooding into the pool. And then the bodies start to rise up in the blood in the pool. That is such a cool fucking scene to me. Like, even though it doesn't really amount to much, I just like the idea of all these bullet holes that are in there and the blood pouring out of it, the pool filling up with blood, and then bodies starting to rise out of the blood where there was no fucking bodies before. Just just mentally thinking about that, I thought that was a really, really cool idea. And then they, of course, find a ton of gold, which the gold doesn't look like gold at all. It looks like, gold foil. But whatever. I guess these guys have never seen actual gold, because I've never seen blocks of gold in like reality in front of me, but I've seen them in documentaries, and I've seen them in gold is not that gold. It's not that vibrant. It's not that yellowish color that they have in this movie. Not any ones that I've seen, though. They have a dirtier look to them when they're blocked like that. yeah, this ship sabotaged, and like their ship blown up, and then they can't leave, and they like their reasoning for everything, what they do in this movie, the salvagers and the story behind that, and the story behind the ship, and them getting out there and them wanting to tug it back, and them, having to fight other people for the claim on it because it's in international waters, and they don't want to call the Coast Guard, and they're trying to take it all for themselves, and then they find the gold, and then they're like, we can't tell anybody, we got to just get out of here, and they all vote to leave, and then the ship gets blown up, and then they do what they got to do to weld the ship so that they can try to get it back, and all. Like, they all make really smart decisions throughout the movie. Like, the characters rarely are things that I want to roll my eyes at. I just think this is a really good movie. Like, I was really, really surprised. I was expecting it to be a little more dumb, like fucking, 13 Ghosts like was. Even though it's a fun, like, I have a good time with it, there's a lot of dumb shit in it. This one just didn't have the dumb shit in it that I was expecting. And oh man, we get some great tits in here. The singer chick, she's walking around. She's tempting that dude who's got a wife back home. I think she's his fiance. I think it's the soon to be Mrs. whatever his last name was. And then she goes for her, and she's she's not a solid mass. She's transparent. So he goes to like grab her body, and he falls down a fucking elevator shaft and lands on these prongs that are sticking out, and that's a gnarly death. I mean, even though it's not graphic and this, but like to be going, kind of reminds me of like Leprechaun 2, I want to say, yeah, when the guy thinks he's going in to like motorboat some really hot naked chick's tits, and it's actually he's putting his face into a lawnmower. That's just so cruel. And speaking about like a fantasy of seeing what's actually not really there, Gabriel Byrne's character, how unfair is this, that he's thinking he's protecting himself, and he's actually trying to kill the person that he loves, this chick who he sees as a daughter essentially. He's going after her, and he's trying to kill her, but he's not really trying to kill her, and then he gets his ass knocked out, and while he's out, that's it for him. He gets thrown in that tank, and then we find out there's this twist that Desmond, that's his real name, Desmond something, but Quinn, whatever the hell his name is in this movie, he is the ghost that brought them out there. And I would assume that the reason that he came out and why he can't just leave all the time, I don't know. But the reason that he came is because but he is a physical manifestation because he can touch things, unlike the other ones. So I'm not really sure how that all works out, because he grabs somebody in the water. So he for sure is, he can be touched, and he holds things and such. So I don't know why he has the ability to leave and they don't. Maybe he has some fucking amulet that I didn't see in the film or something. That's probably what it is. But anyways, I think it's because the deck or the ship hits land, right? And so he needs to have somebody come out and help him so that they can get this. But you would think that he would just want to get the gold off the ship, but then he'd have to compete with those guys, and he'd have to kill them. But why don't you just get it back to land? I don't know. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. He should have let them take the gold off the ship, put it in their ship, bring it back to the mainland, killed all of them, and then took it on to the next cruise liner like he does at the end of the movie. That would have been a lot easier, but that wouldn't have made a very fun film. So they throw Gabriel Byrne's character into that little aquarium, and then when she realizes that this is a setup, she goes back, and Gabriel Byrne, who you think is going to be the main character of the movie, is drowned, and he's dead, and he never comes out of that aquarium. He's dead. He's gone in that for the rest of the movie, and I was surprised by that. I thought it was a really cool twist. And I thought her kind of taking the reins, and that her little love interest ended up being the one that betrayed them, and kind of how that played out. I dug it. I was into it. Murphy, that's his name. Murphy's killed. No, and then they blow up the boat, and that releases all the spirits. So all the spirits are freed. But then she gets back to the mainland, and she sees him taking gold onto another ship where he's gonna rinse, lather, repeat. So cool ending, real dark, and yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. I'll send my extra copy to somebody if they want it. But yeah, so check it out if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a while. It's better than you would expect. How do you guys feel about this one? What's your favorite Dark Castle movie, since I won't be talking about another one for a little while? Probably won't be getting Gothica in the mail for a bit, and Orphan in them. Maybe I'll watch those soon. Maybe I'll get to those soon. But for now, this is, I got these 4 done today, and I'm proud of that. So anyways, adios.